Great, here we go again. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Municipality of Tweed Council meeting on Tuesday, February 24th. We always begin our council meetings with our land acknowledgement. The Municipality of Tweed recognizes that our work takes place on traditional Indigenous territories, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize and respect the history, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples whose presence continues to enrich our communities. Miigwech. Could I have a mover and a second? Oh, sorry, geez, I was doing that. Thank you. Please join us now for O Canada. Thank you. O Canada. We stand on guard for thee. God, you are good. We are free. Stand and guard for Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the approval of today's agenda meeting? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette, and thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none. Be it resolved that the agenda of the February 24th, 2026 regular council meeting be approved as presented. All in favor? Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of our minutes from the February 10th, 2026 council meeting? Thank you, Deputy Mayor DeMarche, and thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on said minutes? Seeing none. All in favor? Thank you. There will be a notification of closed meeting. Council will hold a closed meeting during the regular council meeting pursuant to Section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 SO 2001 C25 as amended to consider the following matters. B, personal matters about an identified individual, including municipal or local board employees, employee performance review, and compensation. My mayor's remarks. I had to have them sent to me. Okay. Thank you to Joel Palmetier and Foundations Youth Center for all that you do while working with the youth in our community. Your services touch many young lives through food security support, a youth clothing bank, hygiene product assistance, and laundry services. We are also grateful for the programming you provide, creative spaces, male mentorship, and youth group activities. Thank you for making such a meaningful difference. Congratulations also to Sandra Johnson, owner of Potter Settlement Artisan Winery, on the tremendous success of your Northern Lights Ice Skate Trail that winds its way through the trees. More on this creative endeavor can be found in our agenda package under Mayor Information Items. On February 11th, I attended the Hastings County Community and Human Services Committee meeting. That evening, I enjoyed the tasty spaghetti dinner served by the Land O'Lakes Curling Club. On the 13th, I believe Councillor Valiquette and Councillor Fleer were both at that. On the 13th, I met with Heather Smith, Chair of the Belleville Police Services Board. On the 14th, Councillor Fleeler and I had the honor of attending Jack McMurray's 90th birthday, where we presented a municipal certificate commemorating the occasion. On the 15th, I was busy serving goodies from our Kiwanis Bake Sale during our annual Family Day pancake breakfast, which saw an amazing turnout this year. On the 17th, I chaired the Hastings County Planning and Development Committee, and then participated in the County Finance, Property, and Personnel meeting. I then made my way to Madoc Township for the Regional Chambers Mayor's Luncheon, where I was joined by fellow mayors Jenkins, Deline, Blackburn, and O'Neill. I would also like to thank Councillor Fleeler for attending that day's celebration of the Land O'Lakes Curling Club's 60th anniversary and presenting a certificate on behalf of the municipality. I'd also like to mention that Councillor Fleeler said that they're very grateful for all the assistance that they have been provided by our Economic Development Officer, Cindy Chow.
Amazing job, they said.
On the 18th, I met with Lindsay Butcher Dodds, Executive Director of Trenton Memorial Hospital, regarding the nature of her pitch for county funding in 2027. On the 19th, I had a follow-up interview with Lindsay Heron of 91X Loyalist College Radio, where I shared more details about our Roma delegations. That evening, I attended the Kiwanis meeting. On the 21st, I joined fellow Kiwanians and friends for the first cornhole tournament. It was a blast and a fun opportunity to do something very different. My marks are small this time. I would like to finish with a message from Pope Leo the 14th. Although this request is made during the period of Lent, I believe something we can embrace year-round. I would like to invite you to a very practical and frequently unappreciated form of abstinence, that of refraining from words that offend and hurt our neighbor. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into a public meeting. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table public meeting of zoning amendment D14-01-2026, the applicant Neil Brook, the location 970 French Settlement Road. Purpose. The purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment D14-01-2026 to amend the municipality's comprehensive zoning bylaw 2012-30 to rezone the above lands from the rural RU zone to the rural residential RR zone to full condition to fulfill condition number 8 of consent application B57/25. Granted provisional approval on November 18, 2025, as the new lot will not meet the minimum lot area requirements of the rural RU zone. Could I have a mover and a seconder to get that on the table, please? Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Valley-Kett. Okay, we'll start this meeting. First of all, is there anybody in this room or anybody out there that would like to speak to this? That's not, nothing? Okay, is there anybody as the proponent represented, would they like to speak to this? Okay, there's nobody here. Are there any questions from council on this particular file? Seeing none. Oh, yes, go ahead.
That is my nephew, but there's no
pecuniary interest in it for you, so you're fine.
Okay.
Be it resolved that council I shouldn't say that. You have to make that determination, don't I? Sorry about that. But be it resolved that council directs staff to bring forward an amending bylaw at the next regular council meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Delegations, petitions. So Richard's joining us online. Okay, what we're going to do, I welcome Richard Staniga, a partner of Baker Tilly. He's going to present to us the 2024 audited financial statement. Welcome, Richard.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here to present the results from 2024. So within the agenda package is the detailed draft financial statements. As well too, there's a presentation slide slide deck that I will go through instead of the detailed financial statements, as most people find that easier to follow. So I will go through that. So I will move into the year-end presentation document that is within your agenda. So then, so when you take a look at this document, the first page does describe the independent auditor's report. So within the draft audited financial statements is our 2-page auditor's report. So what we've taken out of there is...
If I may, Richard, is it possible for you to go into the background and put your slides up on the screen? Is it so people can see what we're talking about?
Are you talking
to you?
Me or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, just let me.
It's like sharing your screen so we can.
Yeah, unfortunately, give me 1 second here. I don't.
That's okay. It's just that people won't know what you're referring to because they can't see this.
All right. Now, would the clerk be able to do it from your end or not?
Do we lose?
Or the deputy? unfortunately, I have to use two different computers, so because we're on Zoom, so just give me one moment here.
Yeah, could we do that? Lucas is going to see if he can get it up on one of the
Okay, all right, okay.
screens that we have.
Good.
You'll have to tell Lucas when to switch the,
Sure, yes. Or if I'm going too slow, he can maybe then move it along. So yes.
Is that screen visible to the camera?
oh, so the screen's not visible to the camera anyway.
No.
Okay, forget it then, Lucas. Forget it.
You sure?
Because I mean, the reason why we're doing it is for the public. We can follow here on our screens. No, so if the public can't see it, then that's it. Keep that in mind for next time.
All right, just
Okay, please go ahead.
now if I shared my screen, would they be able to see it?
Yes.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I think I've
Yeah.
okay. All right. Sorry, I'm not the host is disabled sharing, so I think okay. All right. Okay. Well then so yeah, the independent auditors report then. That is our opinion on the financial statements, and what we pulled out of there is the opinion paragraph that, in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality of Tweed at December 31st and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So a couple things. So that is your standard clean, unqualified auditor's report, which you've always received. When it says consolidated, it includes the operations of the library board. So when we're looking at these numbers, they are included, and then as well too that they are presented in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So that's a different way than how you budget. So I'll try to point out those differences as we move through. And then when we move along to page 3 of the slide document, it just summarizes some of the audit procedures we do to gather the audit evidence so that we can present our auditor's report as presented. We look at your systems, gathering information, doing testing, looking at council minutes, things such as that. Overall, moving along to the next slide on to.
Okay, you should be able to share now, Lucas is saying.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Is that showing up on your screen or not?
No.
No. Right.
No. Okay, just please continue.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So the audit is complete, pending signed receipt of the representation letter, of the legal letter, and council approval of the financial statements. There were no significant difficulties encountered during the audit or disagreements or changes with our audit plan, unfortunately, just due to some changes within staff, within the organization. There was a bit of a gap in just getting everything finalized for the end of 2024. But we're able to get there with the assistance of your current treasurer, Cynthia. So that was good. Overall, as the audit, there were no unadjusted items. We as auditors were still independent of the organization. There were no um, unique accounting estimates out there that were different than in the past. We still use our standard materiality. We use a substantive audit approach. There were no internal control matters we wish to bring to your attention, or significant matters discussed with management, or significant misstatements. And as I said, there were no uncorrected misstatements. There were a couple new adjustments to PSAB standards in 2024, but none of them had an impact on the municipality's financial disclosures, as opposed to the prior year, when there was the big change for the asset retirement obligations, as we will see moving through. So that's just a summary of where things ended up on the audit. But now we will take a look at some actual numbers. If you move along to page 5 of the presentation, so now we're taking a look at a 5-year history of your financial assets. So these are your assets that are either cash or ideally will be turned into cash over time. And you can see there on the far right-hand side, both the trend over the last 5 years and in the far right-hand column, the values at December 31st, 2024, and then all the prior years. Overall, you'll see there that your cash balances did increase, and that's mainly due to collecting your accounts receivable from the prior year, as you had a bunch of capital grants outstanding for projects in relation to the water line and some work on the at the parks. So those amounts were outstanding at the end of last year, so you recovered those. In addition, operationally, you had a surplus that we'll take a look at a little later, and those two main things helped improve your cash position. Your investments are mainly with the one fund, and they increased by just natural growth. Your receivables at the end of this year, your accounts receivable is mainly made up of water and sewer is the largest component there for both receivables and the final bill in 2024. And then as well too, you have some HST outstanding at the end of the year. So that's those are the two major components within that line item, and also within that line item, just some miscellaneous and loans to community groups. Your taxes receivable, you'll see there though, in 2024, the amounts owed to you from ratepayers was up to $1.1 million, which represents 12.18% of your total levy, whereas at the end of 2023, you were down to about 9%, as well as both 2022 and 2023. Those values as a percentage of the total taxes billed were all about 9%. And then in 2020, they were closer to the 2024 level of 11.9%. So that's something to keep in mind moving forward, that you see that hopefully ideally collect on your taxes so that that percentages comes back down into the low risk range of 10%.
If I may,
Yes.
at County Council, Councillor Henderson had asked, is anybody else seeing a situation where taxes aren't necessarily being paid as quickly as we would like? They're finding they're having a huge shortfall as well. Is this something that you're seeing?
Yes, and a lot at the end of 2024 was partially a bit of we're hoping was an anomaly in the fact there was the mail strike, whereas a lot of times when you send out your statements, you would have done that by mail to let people know, so you weren't able to do that at the end of 2024. And so some places in 2025, when they were able to send those out, they did notice that they were able to collect some more. I'm not exactly, I don't know where you're standing at the end of 2025 though.
I think it's a trend that's continuing.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, and unfortunately, you pay the county and the school boards every quarter, whether you collect those monies or not. So you are the banker if the ratepayer does not pay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so then in total, you had about almost $4.2 million in financial assets. And then when we go to the next slide, we take a look at your financial liabilities. Overall, your accounts payable and your accrued liabilities, consistent with the receivables going down in the prior year. Your payables went down because at the end of 2023, you had a lot of holdbacks and capital projects winding up. So those amounts were paid during 2024, and they're not there at the end of 2025. So that's the major reason why it declined. And within there, you just have your standard accounts payable. This year, you had 3 months of OPP billings outstanding, and as well too, you also had some tax sale proceeds for tax sales in 2024 that are owing back to the courts. So that was an additional amount this year. And then as well too, you have your standard wage accruals and those type of things, and tax credits for people who've prepaid their property taxes. So that makes up the majority of the almost $1.3 million in payables. Next, you have your deferred revenue in relation to obligatory reserve funds. So that's your Canada Community Building Fund. There's about $9,600 left in that. And then as well to your cash in lieu of parkland. It's about $44,000. So both of those amounts you've received the money. You just don't bring it into revenue until you spend it in accordance with the various requirements of those two funds. So that makes up the $54,000. Next, we have your other deferred revenue other, and those are mainly deposits on ice rentals for about a little over $30,000. At the end of 2024, you still had your temporary loan for capital projects, being the Joe Allaire Bridge at $1.8 million, the McLennan and Pomeroy project of $1.6 million, and the Queensboro Hall of $218,000. So those amounts add up to the $3.6 million that in 2025 you converted that into long-term debt, or the very next line here. So this is the long-term debt you had finalized and issued back in 2022 for the sewage lagoon, and then as well too, you added in 2024 about $98,000 for a new pickup truck in the Recreation Parks Department, and then as well too, you had your standard pay downs of long-term debt there. And then the next item is your asset retirement obligations. So that came in 2023, and then your landfill liability got captured into that. So at the end of 2024, the balance increased from $7.4 million up to almost $8.1 million. So that just represents the time value and the growth of that liability, nothing more than that. And then as well as I said,
when you look at it, though, it makes the numbers look really bad. I don't understand why it's not treated separately. You add up the first tranche of numbers and then give a total and then add the 8 million afterwards, because it really makes it's a scary number when you're looking at it. And was it mandated that we start reporting on this in 2022 because it wasn't reported earlier?
Correct. Actually, it started in 2023. We just had an error on that slide. That balance in 2022 should have been down one line when it was just looking at the future cost to close your landfills. And then in 2023, it includes both the closure of the two landfill sites, and as well too closure of the sewage lagoon, your gravel pits now, and any asbestos you might have in any of your buildings, and underground underground equipment. So that was a required change to PSAB in 2023. So that's, yeah, it wasn't an optional thing. So yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah, that could be broken down. When we get along to a later slide, though, it is broken down into the equity section. So that's what you'll see there. So in total, you had $15.4 million in liabilities. And then on the next slide, you do actually see the large impact of those asset retirement obligations coming in with the your net financial assets dropping significantly into the negative in 2023. And
Actually, the
staying-
chart is completely misleading when you consider that you're just introducing this in 2023. You're not comparing apples with apples.
That is correct. Yes, it's just showing the trend.
I'm just showing, but I mean, when the public looks at it, okay, it sets up alarm bells that we're in a tragic situation. I mean, that's why it's disconcerting for me, the way it's presented. But anyway, it's there, and it's just a comment I'd like to make.
Sure. Okay. All right. And really, the issue is then when we come and take a look at the following page, which shows you your non-financial assets. So these are mainly your tangible capital assets, which are items that you plan not to try to turn into cash, but you use to provide your services. So such as I mentioned, I think one of the larger capital projects was the Joe Allaire Bridge. Well, of course, so you put in a significant amount of funds into that. The value of that is sitting in your tangible capital assets, but you're not trying to sell the bridge and converting it into cash. You're using it to provide the services to your ratepayers. So really, what has happened is that the fact that the asset side of the certain retirement obligations were reported as a liability, and they show up here in your non-financial assets. So, which is just a matter of where the line is drawn. And then as well too, you have some other non-financial assets being sand and salt and gravel and diesel and gas that you under other non-financial assets. So those are inventory of those items that you will be using in 2025. And then as well too, you had some prepaid expenses, mainly software licenses that were paid in advance. So overall, then the total of the non-financial assets is the $42 million, which when you take off the net financial assets of $11 million, leaves you around $31 million in your total accumulated surplus. And then when we move along to the following slide, you will see this year you'd spent $826,000 on new capital this year. The largest component of that being the purchase of a tandem plow truck for about $345,000 plus the new pickup. You did some work on the sand dome for your increase in your building costs. You did some studies and for bridges on bridges and other structures for Turcotte Road, and as well too underground networks. Did some work in the water control plant and a hydrant, and then as well too you did some work on various streets for about $96,000, and then you also purchased a new mower and a sidewalk plow and books for the library and a pump at the arena. So that's your machinery and equipment of $131,000. But then when you take a look at the next slide, you'll see your capital assets additions versus the amortization, and you'll see there in 2024 your additions were significantly less than all the work you did in 2023, but the amortization of those assets in the black bar in that slide does remain there. And then the following slide, slide 11, numbered on the bottom of the page. So this is the important slide I find within the entire document, because it really shows what you have left over that you can utilize moving into 2025 and subsequent years. So first off, when we take a look at the invested in capital assets, so that is the net book value of your assets, which was around $42 million, as we saw on a previous slide. But then the amount of long-term debt you have associated with that gets reduced off of that, less any unfunded capital. And as well too, the asset retirement obligation all gets netted against that number. So you can see there that it's at $27.6 million. And when you take a look at your total accumulated surplus that's on the statements on the very last line, it's $31.1 million. So a lot of your surplus is tied up into your capital. And then as well too, when we take a look at under the surplus line, you'll see the municipality line. In 2022 and 2023, at the end of each year, you still had a sizable deficit. In 2024, you were able to reduce that down almost to zero in a slightly positive amount. So you ended 2024 in a surplus position, which is only $2,400, but it's still better than being in the deficit position of the $370,000 you were in before. So operationally, it was a very good year. Whereas when you look at page 2 on the financial statements, the detailed financial statements, which includes all the PSAB numbers, it's a very large deficit. So I'll explain that on the following slide. And then as well to the library board, unfortunately had a deficit at the end of 2023, and that deficit increased to $6,100 at the end of 2024. And then you come to your reserve and your reserve fund. So these are the monies you've set aside that you can utilize moving forward. And those amounts increased by about $65,000 over the year. So they remain fairly constant. And you were able then to eliminate your opening deficit, taking you to a small surplus, as I mentioned earlier. So that's where things sit. So of your $31 million in accumulated surplus, the amounts available to you moving forward are about $3.5 million. So. And then we take a look at the next slide, slide 12. When you take a look at page 2 of the detailed financial statements, you'll see that you had $10 million in total revenue and $12 million in total PSAB expenses, showing that you had a $1.3 million deficit. But as I said on the previous page, operationally, you had about a $372,000 surplus during the year. So really the impacts of PSAB reporting have a huge impact on that total PSAB deficit of the $1.3 million. Within that $1.3 million is $2.4 million in amortization. So really that's for capital you've already paid for. And then as well too, there's accretion expense on your asset retirement obligation. So that's also within that number. And then as well too, changes in your unfunded capital. So your unfunded capital balance went down by $642,000, and then you had transfers to and from reserves. That also, for PSAB reporting purposes, are not treated as a revenue or an expense, but they are for your tax rate budget. And then as well too, proceeds on long-term debt. So there's you received $98,000 on your purchase of your pickup truck. And then as well too, you paid down $49,000 on your long-term debt. And then really there's the actual in-year operating surplus. Your change in your was $372,000. So when you add all of that up and the change in the library board, the deficit, with those adjustments for those PSAB amounts, everything does come back to zero, and then leaving you overall operationally with the $2,400 surplus. So it's a bit of a long way around, and a bit of mental adjustments that they're trying to get to that number. And then as well too, when you take a look at the following slide, you'll see there that your revenue and expenses, the expenses were higher than the revenue, as already previously noted. And then the next slide, page 14, shows you your actual amounts of your revenues and for 2024 right out of the financial statement. So overall, your revenues were coming in at $10.8 million, below the budget of 13.5. Within the budget, though, there was a project for George Street that didn't occur. So there was about almost $3 million, both in provincial revenue that didn't occur, creating that that variance within there. So that's where the main item comes from. And then as well too, overall, you utilized some of your Canada Community Building Fund for working on the McLennan Pomeroy project, and as well as the Queensborough Hall for the $370,000, and as well too, your supplementaries were higher than budgeted, so that's why your taxes were coming in higher. Your user charges were down from budget, but were up from the previous year, and the largest component within there is your water and sewer charges. Your landfill as well was about $300,000. Of that total, your water and sewer charges were just over $1 million. And then as well too, the recreation facilities and at the arena amounts were a little lower than the prior year. And keep in mind too, with the sale of the hockey team in the prior year, you didn't have certain revenues that you had in 2023 that weren't there in 2024, and as well. So those are the type of things that go into there. Keep in mind with your agreement with the building department services, your building permits do not show up in your financial statements because they are just transferred to the BSC. So that is one slight difference if you're looking at some others in the user charges area. But as I said, almost $10.8 million in revenue. And then if we move along to page 15, you'll see that you had $12.1 million in expenses. Within there, amortization and accretion on the asset retirement obligation are pretty much the main differences within the transportation services, but the budget being based on last year's actual, so they were higher than they're coming in this year. So when you take those amounts out of there, both transportation and environmental services, which includes water and sewer, and as well to your landfills, overall operationally they came in pretty much on budget. Your protection services, your fire area was under budget, creating that variance there. Your general government, there were some additional costs in relation to their tornado cleanup. There's about an extra $300,000 in costs there, and some professional services line that was higher than budgeted, creating that variance. And your rec and culture, pretty close to being on budget, and that includes both the arena, your parks, and the library. And then as well too, your community development in planning and development was under budget by about $67,000, creating that variance there. And then when we take a look on the following page, it just looks at the expenses in a different format, and you will see there pretty much like most municipalities, wages and benefits are one of your largest expenses. That's how you provide a lot of your services, your materials and services and contracted services in total. They both amount to about $5.3 million. Just with where certain things were budgeted, they might have shown up as a contract, and then when the actual came through, they showed up in the materials line. So, but when you add the two amounts, those two lines together, they do come in at the $5.3 million for both of them. But within the rents and financial, you're over budget there, mainly due to the accretion expense on your asset retirement obligations. It's in the actual, but not in the budget. And then as well too, your amortization was based on the prior year's amount, whereas and that included a lot of adjustments for amortization on your asset retirement obligations, whereas the actual this year's there wasn't any of those, so it came in at the $2.4 million, giving you the $12.1 million in total expenses. That's where things ended up at the end of the year. And I think
Thank you very much.
yeah, just operationally, yes, you were able to get out of the deficit position and be in a small surplus there.
Thank you very much, Richard. Is Cindy, Cindy, did you have any comments or any questions or anything before I go to council?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I think, well, the only thing I want to point out, I guess, is that in 2024, the municipality had an annual surplus totaling $228,000. So when you add that $228,000, sorry, go back. You started out with a $370,000 deficit that you had to cover. You had plans in the budget of 2024 to transfer some funding. One of it was about $89,000, and there was another $54,000 transfer. So that transferred into help covering that deficit. And you add the $228,000 surplus from 2024, it got you out of your deficit. So even though you had planned in 2025 to fund some more money to clear that deficit, you've already cleared it in 2024. So it's awesome. Anyway, it's a good news story.
So Cindy, if I may, so that was the carryover from 2022 that we got caught with?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's all gone now is what you're saying?
As of the end of 2024, it's all
Or-
gone. Plus you've
Okay.
got $2,000 surplus now.
Oh, okay. That's great. Sweet. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Any questions from council? Yes, Deputy Mayor Demarche.
Not really questions, but Cindy, I know you worked long and hard on this, and I want to thank you for, answering the questions that we need to answer, because it's hard to follow, but I think you did a fabulous job on working with the auditors to hold us all together and with the timelines you did. So good job, and I appreciate that.
Thank you very much,
I
Councillor.
want to echo what Deputy Mayor Demarche has said. We were in a very difficult situation, and you having come in and helped us get all caught up on 2024 and helping us move significant advancement with 2025. I'm extremely grateful for what you've done. As Deputy Mayor Demarche said, a number of people at council did call you for clarification on the audit report, and I've heard back that you provided wonderful explanations for sometimes things that can be very difficult to understand. So thank you very much for that as well.
Thank you, Your Worship. Often the PSAB financial statements are so hard to understand, and I get it. I mean, you have to be really an accountant to understand all that goes into a PSAB financial statement. And when you add in the amortization and the accretion on the liability and all the rest of this, it ultimately looks like really bad. But it turns out you're in a pretty good position at the end of 2024.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Fleeler.
Your Worship, I just, on page 6 of the year-end presentation,
Page.
and I noticed it, I think, in the other presentation as well, the landfill liability is at 0 for 22, 23, and 24. Each year we've added a little bit to that liability fund. I don't know why that's 0.
So with the implementation of the asset retirement obligations, it all got included within the asset retirement obligations. So when you take a look at the $7.4 million and just a little over $8 million, a large component of that is all related to the landfills.
So a new way of reporting that they changed.
Yeah, so it's been moved into the line above. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Richard. The very difficult topic to explain. You did a wonderful job with it. I really appreciate the time and effort, and good news for the municipality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good meeting.
Okay, you too. Good evening. Okay, so, I didn't get a mover and a seconder to table that. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Demarche, thank you, and Councillor Valley-Cat. Well, we already had tabled our questions. Be it resolved, the council received the draft 2024 audited financial statements for the municipality of Tweed as presented, and further that council approve the audited financial statements for the municipality of Tweed as and for the year ending December 31st, 2024, and further that the mayor and treasurer be authorized to sign the management report, and further that once the final copies of the 2024 audited financial statements are received, copies are to be posted on the municipal website and made available to the public at the office upon request. All in favor? Thank you. Gee, we got to get out of here. We got to hear Mr. Trump give his big speech at 8 o'clock.
Oh, gee. There'll be something else on too.
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Chief Administrator's Officer's update for February 24th, 2026, please? Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Councilor Palmetier. Over to you, Ron. Oops.
Thank you, Mayor DeGenova, and through you to the members of council and yourself. I today have the pleasure of introducing you and welcoming Arthur Smith to the municipality of Tweed. So Arthur is directly behind me.
Arthur, I'm going to get you to come up here so people know who you are. Get on camera. Your big profile here. And here's Arthur.
Thank you.
There you go. You go and sit down.
So I'm very pleased to announce this. Arthur comes to us with a extensive background and experience and knowledge in both the private and public sector. Holds many designations, including a CMA and a CPA. We're very excited to have Arthur join our team. Arthur will be working directly out of the office, and we'll have the finance team reporting directly to him. And that will include our finance staff, which is our admin public works planning assistant, our tax specialist, and Kate, our other deputy treasurer. The corresponding bylaw will come forward in the next council meeting, of course. Number two, in early January, Quinte Conservation Authority submitted its annual invoice for its services or its levy. Staff requested that this invoice be split in two to help the municipality manage its cash flow. Quinte Conservation had no disagreement with that request and granted that. Also coming up on Thursday, we have a emergency preparedness planning session with the members of our staff and Quinte Conservation Authority to look at different models of flooding and to best prepare our municipality, our staff, and our residents on what to expect this spring. So it's just a concern that we want to be prepared for. It's going to obviously depend a lot on our weather, climate, and any storm events that we have, rainfall and hot weather for melting. A few other things. I want to thank Cindy and Arthur and the rest of the team for getting our 2024 financials in order and submitted. This is a key piece of work that we have now accomplished that will help us capitalize on other opportunities moving forward. This work needs to be done so that we can apply for different grants and other opportunities. So great work by the team. I'm very happy and very proud of them. And lastly, our Public Works Manager, Ryan Reed, had not submitted a written update, but he is here to give a verbal update. So I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. Thank you.
Through his worship, there's just a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. I apologize. I didn't have time to get a written report in, but I know I wasn't here for the last meeting, so just wanted to give everyone a brief update on some things. We have our new tandem plow scheduled for delivery tomorrow. It should be in tomorrow. We still have to get the new wing and plow for it as well. And then we have the auto greaser being installed on Thursday. So that's good for me. Sorry, good news for the municipality and Public Works. It'll definitely help in these snowstorms. Excuse me. Queensboro Bridge. We had a meeting today with our contractor and he's given us a firm date on installation due to the subcontractor taking another job in Northwest Territories. This bridge is going to be slated for April 13th. This isn't great news, but there is a benefit that it won't interfere with plow operations. And then we won't have much frost left in the ground, but he has given us that as a firm date. Also some road condition updates. We did put half loads on last Friday. We're starting to see some early frost heaving. So that has been put in place, and it's a little earlier than normal, but you know, preemptively, we want to try and protect our roads best we can. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions? Well, first of all, CEO Diskey, and then
And just to add to Ryan's update, if you do receive any inquiries or feedback from the public about our road conditions, it would be appreciated if we could get specifics. Not that just the road is rough. If there's a particular pothole or a particular issue that needs to be addressed, allowing staff or giving staff as much information as possible on where the location is would be very helpful. So just if you keep that in mind when speaking or dealing with our residents. Thank you.
okay, Councillor Fleeler.
Yeah, your worship, to the roads, manager. Thank you for the update. It's, I've had a lot of calls about that bridge. Anyway, is that install date outside of the half load window?
Through your worship to Councillor Leeler, we don't know yet. Depending on road conditions, it might fall within, it might fall without. We might have to do a little bit of juggling. We might have to bag a couple signs to make it work, but there won't be too many trips in and out with extremely heavy loads. It would just be the bridge itself. So we'll have to make that call when the time comes.
So what about the crane though, too?
To Mr. Fleeler, yeah, we would have the crane as well, the bridge delivery. We might have a bit of gravel movement from Danford's pits or our own, but in the grand scheme of things, for a little bit of work and that time of year, we should be pretty safe, I
Okay,
think.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Councillor Valica.
One just for
For Ryan, I just want to, if when the date actually happens and the install goes, if you can let us know, I'd be interested to watch that happen. And
Councillor Valica's going to bring donuts. Okay.
Want to make your donut?
God, no, that's the wrong way. And to CO Diskey, I just want to thank you. Not that the rest of the team isn't marvelous, but there's so many complexities involved in the treasury aspect of what happens for the municipality. I want to thank you personally for getting hold of Cindy and Arthur now, who've helped us reestablish and getting us focused and going in the right direction for the future of the municipality. Very important. Thank you.
Just to follow through on that as well. First of all, Arthur, I've had nothing but amazing feedback on you from staff. So that's wonderful. So thank you for working so closely with the team and giving them the assurances that that they need. So thank you very much for that. I also want to thank you, Ron. I mean, my God, I was going to swear there, but talk about a storm. I was going to use something else, but a storm. Like, we've had so many things happening as of late, and you've handled them with grace, and you brought the team along. And I particularly love the way you always compliment the staff for the work that they do. That's a real team building exercise, and I'm so happy that you're leading the helm here. You provided us with great direction and advice so far. You and Cindy have been absolutely incredible, as well as all of our other managers, Cindy, Ryan, now Arthur. This is good news for our municipality. We're moving in the right direction and we're moving fast. That's good. Thank you. Any other comments? Sorry, I have to. Okay. Could be it resolved that council receive the CIO update report as presented, and further that council approve the changes to the staff organizational chart. Am I on the right one? No, I'm not. Okay. Organizational chart and reporting structure as noted. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a move and a seconder for the municipality of Tweed water and wastewater rates study and drinking water? Could I have a move and a seconder to get that on the table, please? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Do we have a guest joining us for this, or is this? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the report. I read it at length, and I'm very pleased to see that we are moving forward, just as we are with our asset management plan in regards to other infrastructure issues that we have about trying to make sure that we have the funds necessary to keep on top of what is going to come down the pipeline, so to speak. But anyway, are there any questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor LaMarche.
I was like you, Mayor, I read it pretty in depth. The only question I had is that was this prepared prior to us getting the 825,000? Like, is that, I guess, does that change the dynamics with that? Because
I
our
believe you're
long-term-
referring to the government funding for the HWS project?
Yes.
Yes, this does account for that funding.
Okay, so I couldn't figure out if that was accounted for. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Fleeler.
Thanks, Your Worship. This is, so this is a 2% increase to the water,
Wastewater.
And-
Yeah.
a 2% to the wastewater as well?
Yes, we always recommend a 2% increase at a minimum just to keep up with inflation. The big recommendation is that over the next few years, some of these 2% should be 5%, at least 3 times.
And that's like what we're looking at with our asset management plan. We're looking at 6%. Like, as that's been tabled through the person that's presented our asset management plan. So like, this is just keeping up with what we know is coming down the pipeline to build up enough funds to ensure that we have it. Also, if you look, we have some of the cheapest water rates and wastewater rates in Hastings County. But anyway, it will be the next council that would decide that. We're facing 2% right now. So yes, Councillor Valiquette.
Just for clarification, we're saying 2% now, and when we're talking about 5%, how often are
3
you?
years, I think it is. Is it 3 years?
5% for 3 years.
Yeah.
So you could have 5% this year, next year, and the year after, and that would be sufficient.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you. We really appreciate Aqua's assistance in so many different regards, especially when you guys were able to secure that funding for us. We very much appreciate that, and we thank you for this study. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be it resolved that council accept the Municipality of Tweed's Drinking Water System Financial Plan number 168-301 and Municipality of Tweed Water and Wastewater Rates Study as presented, and further that council approve a 2% increase to water and wastewater rates effective for water used on and after July 1st, 2026, and that the appropriate schedules and bylaw be updated. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the request for tax exemption from Tweed and Company Theatre, please? A mover, and thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. You want to walk us through this, Ron?
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Cindy to.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Cindy.
Cynthia to walk.
Forgetting when I don't see you here. But I do see you up there, little you.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay.
That's okay. Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, the Tweed and Company Theaters, so they actually, so they've applied for a exemption in taxes. And according to the Assessment Act, they are entitled to that exemption because under the Assessment Act, I guess, what is it here? Section 3.1, paragraph 26, small theaters are allowed to have their property tax exempt. So the issue was that they didn't apply until, I guess it was 2025. So they got the exemption for 2025, but MPAC then said that they really were entitled to that exemption ever since 2022. So 22, 23, and 24. MPAC cannot tell us to exempt it because the property taxes have already been paid. So therefore, it's up to council. But it is MPAC considers it an equity that they recommend that that council approves this exemption for those 3 years. So going forward, they are exempt from taxes if they continue to be a small theater.
Okay,
So
thank you.
essentially, it's just asking you to approve a tax write-off and a refund of taxes for 22, 23, and 24, and the total amount we'd be refunding is $5,862.
I believe they also have a request coming through to us for budget for a financial donation. So if we do approve this, this would be our donation that we could entertain, positioning it that way. Are there any questions on this? So let me just go back to what's recommended. Okay, so Be it resolved that council received the request for tax exemption Tweed and Company Theater report as presented, and further that council approve the exemption for 2024, and refund the taxes paid during that time period. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you for that report and update. Very, very nicely explained. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder for to approve the public planning meetings report, please? Mover and a seconder. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Any questions on said report? Seeing none, be it resolved that council accept the proposed governance change and permit all public planning meetings be hosted by the Committee of Adjustment Planning. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Building Inspection Services Board, BISB, FRI report for 2025, please? Mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on said FRI? Okay, seeing none. Be it resolved that council receive the Building Inspection Services Board, FIR report for 2025 as presented. All in favor? Moving on to bylaws. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2026-17, a bylaw to adopt a revised human resources policy for the municipality of Tweed and to repeal bylaws 2025-85 and 2025-103. Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Any questions on that recommendation? Be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-17 to adopt a revised human resources policy for the municipality of Tweed be read a first, second, third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed, and open council this 24th day of February 2026. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Tweed Lions Club request the use of the canteen during the 2026 baseball season? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on that? Seeing none, be it resolved that council approve the request for the Tweed Lions Club to operate the Fairgrounds Canteen for the 2026 baseball season as requested, and further that proof of $2 million liability insurance coverage be provided, naming the municipality of Tweed and Tweed Hungerford Agricultural Society on the policy. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Quinny Conservation Culvert Project at Stokoe Ball Diamond property? Correspondence received from Mark Boone, Hydrologist, Regulations Officer at Quinny Conservation Reculvert Project at Stokoe Ball Diamond property regarding Council's letter of December 17, 2025. To help with project understanding, Mr. Boone provided a site map illustrating the location of the subject water course and the 1 to 100 year floodplain of the Moira River, located to the west of the site, as well as a photo from the flooding of the Moira River in April of 2014, showing the area being underwater. Could I have a mover and a seconder to get that on the table, please? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Are there any questions? Seeing none.
Moment.
Oh, please go. You please do, Councillor Palmetier.
Your worship, we received this after we had concerns prior. The photo that's attached just kind of reiterates what we had already spoke about, whether it's a culvert, whether it's perforated Big O. The water sits on top of the surface of the ground during the extreme flooding periods. The important culverts are the ones that cross under the Stoke or the Marlbank Road. So the ones in the ball diamond don't affect the fact that the entire thing is going to be underwater. The 100-year flood map shows that all of those homes and the entire ball diamond will be underwater. I still don't see a need. It's another unnecessary cost being put on a municipality when we're just trying to alleviate an issue during rain events. That's all this is for. So I don't know where we're going from here. The whole point we didn't want an open ditch was because it's a hazard, whether it's for vehicles or for people or strollers or wheelchairs or things like that. However, we're also going to incur more costs putting in a large, long culvert. So I don't know if we're done here or where we're going from here.
Okay, CEO Diskey.
Through the chair to council, I had a very good conversation with Mark Boone about this issue and Councillor Palmetier is absolutely correct. This will have no bearing for the spring flooding. This is more concerned, as he said, for rainfall specifically in the fall. The issue here is that if we leave what's there, we'll need an engineer's report to satisfy Quinte Conservation that the drainage will be the same, or we can, as Mark said, we can replace like with like, so putting the culvert back in. So either way, we're going to have an expense. And as Councillor Palmetier also indicated, we do not want to leave an open ditch behind the ball diamond for safety reasons. So, you know, our options are limited. We do have to take some action, and I think the cheapest action would be, or the most cost-effective way would be, just to put the culvert back the way it was.
Your worship. Like, we pay Quinte Conservation. Do they not have people in place that can show us this? Like, I understand they're saying no, but now they're saying go hire somebody private, take more money away from taxpayers to do the same thing. Rain event or not, it still floods our property.
Mhm.
The culvert's taken away. Like the culvert that crosses
Mhm.
Marlbank Road takes it away. It's gonna cost us money either way. I'm not in favor of giving it to an engineer, but I'm just really disappointed in how this was handled.
Oh,
Like, I don't blame any of our staff.
No.
I would not have thought twice about the fact that we needed to get a permit to,
fix our own culvert.
that wasn't going to make a difference on the flood. Because that's why we would have to get a permit, because it falls within the floodplain. However, the issue isn't flooding. So they don't really line up.
So if I may, the other options are, do they fine us? Is that what is an option? Or do we go to is it the land tribunal where we question what they're doing? Like I don't, maybe Council Peeler knows more.
Yeah, I don't know where you would go with that, but your worship, the original conversation was to put an 18-inch pipe in there. I don't know how it got changed or why it got changed, but definitely we need to contact the Quinte Conservation if we're working near water and in wetlands, EP land, all kinds of different things. But the original conversation, Trevor sat there and stated, now they didn't confirm what they were gonna do, but they did talk about the 18-inch, replacing the 18-inch culvert. And I don't know how it got to be a 6-inch perforated pipe.
Go ahead, Council.
Your worship, the conversation of, if I remember correctly, we discussed it, we discussed how little water goes through the pipe, and I believe we actually discussed putting in like sewer main, like something smaller that we could run longer, because it's such a long pipe to be that large. But then I know that that's very expensive too, like just that blue pipe. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't.
So like Big O, at least you're taking all the water from around it, getting anyway, so that there's something the ground can take some of that rainfall as well. So
And
I don't know if we did plan on putting a large culvert back in, because we never saw it take large amounts of water.
And Palmetier Council Palmetier is right, we did discuss the changes at council. So we basically approved it. I mean, again, like you mentioned, like I guess we should be reaching out to Quinte Conservation and like, you know, maybe the next time when you see this happening, say, have we contacted Quinte Conservation?
Well, yeah, and
You know.
it's everybody's responsible. I have a little water hole for the cattle, and I was told that if I dig that water hole out, I need a permit. And it has no effect on anything, only my property. But anyway.
Okay, so what do we do? Okay, Councilor Palmetier has expressed his concerns about having to incur additional dollars for something which is a fix to a problem that's already there. Do we? Yes, go ahead.
Through the mayor, I thought Quinte Conservation had some kind of an appeals process on a decision, do they not? Councillor Fleeters?
You can appeal, yeah. You can appeal this decision, so you'd have to defer this. Or I don't know what you'd have to do, but if you're not gonna dig it up now.
No.
So I mean, if we did defer this
Mhm.
and get some further information,
When's their next meeting?
um.
I was just thinking an appeal would allow further conversation about possible other steps. And as part of that.
March 19th,
March 19th.
unless they change it. Yeah, they might change it due
Okay.
to, that's Easter break right there.
Okay, so it'll be thereabouts
Yeah,
anyway, okay.
Yeah.
So do we want to postpone this and then appeal the decision back to Quinny Conservation? Okay.
Mayor, I'll move that we appeal and move it and defer.
Can I have a seconder on that? Council Palmetier. Okay, so Ron, that will require that you and come up with our own interpretation of what we've done and looking at building some of the comments that Council Palmetier has made into that presentation and trying to see, like, have a better understanding of why they're pushing us to go in this direction, when I agree with Council Palmetier.
Like, we're supposed to be able to work back and forth, worship it, like, instead of going to an appeal process, can we just ask the questions first?
Well, I think.
Or is that not gonna
That's
get us
happened,
anywhere?
but we've done that already. But I mean, if you, I guess the first thing then would be go back to Mr. Boone and mention to him what you heard at this council meeting. And say that council is looking at moving to an appeals process. Is there something we can do to mitigate that, stop that from happening? And then if he says, well, no, that's the decision, then we reach out to them through the appeals process. Are we okay with that? All in favor? Sorry, it wouldn't accept my thumbprint. Okay, can I have a move and a seconder to table correspondence information, please? Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Is there anything in that anybody would like to bring forward? The Roma delegation, thank you letters. I sent thank you letters off to everybody we had a delegation with as well. They are in information items tabled by myself. I also referenced in my mayor's remarks about Potter Settlement. That is also there for further elaboration. Okay. Oh, sorry. You go first, Councillor Wheeler.
Your worship, we did postpone discussion about this 13-1
13-1.
on the correspondent,
Yes.
the dog attack
Mhm.
in Nova Scotia that killed that 13-year-old boy. I fear this. You see dogs walking around like a fully grown man I don't think could push one of those pit bulls off. There's been a couple people from Tweed attacked by dogs. They have to live with that the rest of their lives. The one fellow had his face ripped off. I think you know him quite well. I do. Other people, most times a dog nails you in the face or the throat. Well, these dogs, apparently, once they got the taste of blood, that was all it took really to kill that young boy. I don't know what we could do to prevent this type of thing from happening. Like I mean, there was a pit bull law in Ontario that you couldn't have a pit bull. They've taken that off the table. Now you can have whatever you like. I've had Dobermans. The neighbor had a Doberman. He was sitting right here, just his teeth were out. And I told him, I said, your dog is on my property. I said, I fear that he's gonna bite me. I said, I hope he doesn't. And what do you do with that? Like the guy just let his dog out, go outside for a little buzz. And I was across the road and here he comes. What do? A little kid? Might be a totally different story. And I, in fact,
Get close to your mic so people can hear you.
I don't even like to talk about this, but my neighbor had the same thing happen to her. She went home and her own dogs attacked her. And a couple weeks later, she succumbed to the injuries and she passed. Now, she had other medical issues as well, but I just fear for these little kids and for anyone else really, but I don't know what we can do. I just don't know.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Mayor, I just wonder if we could pull a 13
Oh, wait.
two.
We should,
Or are you done?
he's done, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
a question
just
he
don't
put
know.
out there, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
We're left in between a rock and a hard place. I don't know what we can do.
Yes, Councilor Ponte.
Just to respond, I think the bigger issue lies at keeping the owners in responsibility, whether it's through the OPP and that kind of path. Just if the owners of the animals liable for those kind of injuries, because otherwise I don't think you can have a dog that is normally a calm breed, and if you have the wrong owners, then that dog's aggressive, right? So it's hard to blame the dog. As you're speaking, like I've seen the way cattle act or anything like that could be dangerous that are just out there. So I think that would be the only means. It's kind of outside of our control.
Well, it's a good point that you raised, because like, when I was young and throughout my young life, we always had German Shepherds. They were the friendliest, nicest, welcoming, fun dogs. But then you always have a vision of what a German Shepherd is when you see movies and stuff, like, so it's how people raise their dogs and holding them accountable.
And your worship, whether they keep a dog that they see aggression in, right? Like if you know you have an aggressive dog, you have that responsibility to is this dog safe in this neighborhood, or should it be rural and kept confined and things like that, right?
Well, even with your own family, as you mentioned, this one owner, the dogs turned on the owner, like, so when you see signs of aggression. Okay, I think it's good to table. I think it's good for us to be made aware, like, and I think, maybe we can put out a notice, noting that, we expect dog owners to be responsible for their dogs and to ensure that that they are well behaved, and then if incidents like this do happen, which is true, the police will lay charges, like, when you have a dog that attacks somebody else. God forbid that should happen.
Yeah, and your worship, I think Councillor Palmer hit the nail on the head. The dogs have the same demeanor as their owner.
Yeah.
And I had a guy sick of German Shepherd on me when I was 18.
Imagine you're 18.
What's that?
You're
but-
18, maybe.
But anyway, the dog didn't make out real good, but he was still alive.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for raising that, and a good discussion around the table. Deputy Mayor Demarchi, did you want to raise something?
Yeah, just before I do, we have a police meeting tomorrow, and I'll ask the OPP about liability on a dog attack like that for you. I was just looking at 13.2, the village transit. Is that something that we can have posted on our Facebook page? I think that's really good information for the public. Just a schedule and what they do.
We have put it up a number of times.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's something that needs to be.
No, yeah, you're right, and we have posted it, but it doesn't hurt to post it from time to time.
And I know some residents have spoke to me about, they don't necessarily use social media, but they visit our webpage a lot. So if
Yeah.
there's somewhere in the corner somewhere we can put it, just.
Do we have this posted in the, we do, thank you, good. Okay, and has it been ever put in the newspaper, do you know? Can we put that under our column or no? We should look at it. Let's look at it. We should make sure it gets into the paper regardless. Okay, anything else from anyone? Seeing nothing. Okay, go back up here. Be it resolved that the corresponding information be received and filed, and be it resolved that item 13.2, we're okay. You know what to do. Okay. Okay, now we're going to move it in closed session. Could I have a move in a second to move into closed, please? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Be it resolved that council go into closed meeting at Lori 7:22. Thank you. So it was Councilor Valiquette and Councilor Palmetier. Do you want to write that in there? Valiquette and Palmetier. I think it was two. So Jim requested, Councilor Fleeler requested notification of closed meeting and staff direction recorded vote. So you call it, Lori.
Okay, so the resolution
Be resolved. that
Be
staff
resolved
follow
that
direction from
follows
closed
stuff, yeah. So through the mayor, the deputy mayor Demarche, how do you vote?
Opposed.
Councillor Palmetier, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Fleeler, how do you vote? Councillor Valiquette, how do you vote? Mayor DeGenova, how do you vote? Motion's carried
meeting.
3-2.
Sorry, in favor.
Motion's carried 3-2.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the conformatory bylaw 2026-18? Thank you, Councilor Palmetier. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Be it resolved that conformatory bylaw number 2026-18 be read a first, second, third, and final time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 24th day of February 2026. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the adjournment of today's meeting? Thank you, thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Thank you, Councilor Palmetier. Be it resolved that council adjourn at Lori. Okay, all in favor? Thank you.